about Ron Greenwood. How good a manager was he?
He was a magnificent coach. All due respects to Malcolm. All due respects to Malcolm. I had a lot of time for Malcolm. I owed everything to him, but this fellow was magnificent. He was the best coach I ever worked with in my life. Best coach I ever seen. He was simplicity itself. He was.
But you wouldn't say he was a great manager,
no.
would you?
He wasn't a great manager, I didn't think. I mean, he had his moments, like everybody does, but he was a tremendous coach. Oh, I learned so much off of him. I mean, I got to the stage afterwards where I used to go to watch football games, and I had people working with me after that, and they used to say, I don't know how you see all those things, but he made looking at the game very simple to me. You know, how it could work out and how you could develop it. And it was as simple as A, B, certainly on the sidelines, it was as simple as A, B and C. And I think I was able to transmit an awful lot through to other players, like Malcolm transmitted to me when he first taught me and Noel. I was able to push that through to a lot of other people in my time. And I think it was because of him. He was, what I can tell you is I worked under him 8 years. And for 8 solid years, I didn't know what I was going to do every morning I went in training. Now you think about that. Every morning you went in training, you wasn't sure. When we first started, you knew exactly what you were doing, didn't you?
You were going to
Tremendous.
run. Yeah.
And we did everything with the ball, everything with the ball. It was absolutely unbelievable.
I think he loved his football, didn't he? And consequently, he was a great coach. But I remember talking to Bobby Moore one time when even Bobby thought they could have done with somebody a bit more ruthless in certain positions of the team. And I think he went to Ron and said, well, could we not buy somebody who'll put his foot in and, you know, give us a positive attitude to winning the ball? And Ron says, well, thank you very much, Bobby, but no, I don't want it that way. And Bobby just walked out of the office and said, well, there's not much point in going and asking or telling him, because Ron did it just the way he wanted it.
Actually, Bobby lost faith in him.
He did, yeah.
But he was very upset the last 2 or 3 years there. Bobby, I remember when we went there with Manchester City and we slaughtered them 4. And I spoke to Bobby afterwards, you know, and he said, I can't work with this fella anymore. Like, you know, because Bobby knew as much as him. Bobby had a great brain, knew as much as him, like, you know.
I think Bobby appreciated him as a tactician and as a man that, you know, could teach. But then I think he was looking for something more than that.
I still don't think what you say. I agree with what you just said there to a certain extent, but I still don't think there aren't that many people who can, to this day, Mel, who can impart their knowledge onto a football field. Don't tell me. There ain't too many people who can impart their knowledge onto players on a football.
No,
I see it every day.
He did brilliant the first 5 years. Brilliant the first 5 years. But when people knew how they played and knew what to do, you know, he couldn't counteract it. You know, there was nothing he could do about it. And probably he didn't have the players. He wanted 1 or 2 players that were, you know, that were better players, better quality players.
He wasn't much of a disciplinarian, was he? Did he let you get on with what you wanted to do?
Well, I just told us a quick story. I mean, he said I was something, he wrote in his book, you had all gone then, hadn't you? And he wrote in his book that I was something of a cult figure at West Ham when he came to, well, he made it his business that I wasn't going to be a cult figure. Yeah. We played at home to Manchester City, the first game he came, and we drew no goals, and I got injured. And Phil Woosnam got injured. And we went to Burnley in midweek, and they drew 2 each at Burnley in midweek. And we then was going to play Cardiff on the Saturday, so we went straight from Burnley down to Porthcawl and stayed at Porthcawl until the weekend. And we came on Friday, we're training at Porthcawl, and he said, he pulled me to one side, he said, I'm not putting you in tomorrow. I'm leaving, whoever it was, George Wright or Joe Kirkhope, whoever it was in. So he said, I said, but you're playing Phil Woosnam. He said, yeah, I know I am. He said, well, I said, if you're playing Phil Woosnam, why aren't you playing me? He said, because I'm the manager and I'll do what I want to do. That was the end of the story. So that was fair enough. So I didn't play. And in fair dues, he then taught me a lesson. The players, they got to the 6th round of the FA Cup, they flew all the players up to Liverpool and their wives to the 6th round of the FA Cup. One missing, the senior player at the football club I didn't go, my wife didn't go. They went at the end of that year to America, took all the wives, all the players, me and my wife didn't go, left us behind. And I spent 18 months in the A team at West Ham. and he wanted me to go to QPR, he wanted me to go here, and I said no. He said, well, you make your bed, you lie on it. I said, okay, and I stayed. And do you know, as God be my judge, I walked in at West Ham one morning after about 18 months, and I thought, it ain't him who's wrong, you know, it's you. Because they'll tell you about, as much as I thought I could play, I had a bad attitude compared with these two at times. You would accept that, wouldn't you? And
Definitely.
What do you mean a bad attitude?
well,
John?
I'd fuss
Moody.
about with the game and wouldn't play when I'd sometimes and wouldn't give everything, and he used to get up his shirt. And he thought I know he used to
matches
think,
he wouldn't
used to
bother.
think I could play, and I used to get up his shirt. And he left me 18 months until one day I come in and I thought, I ain't him, it's you. And just after that one day he said to me, I was in the treatment room, remember it forever. And he said, we're going to Villa tomorrow, John. He said, would you like to come? I said, Ron, please. Would I like to go? So he said, yeah, okay, you'll come with us. And he put me in. We won 1-0 and I scored the winner. We won 1-0 at Villa, and I never looked back. I mean, I got older and then but from there on in, it's helped sort me out. I still made mistakes like we all do, but it helped me out in my thinking and in my life and everything. But maybe if somebody had done that to me a little bit or a lot earlier, I'd have maybe been a better player.
Talking about messing about in training, I mean, Malcolm, you used to, I read a story once that you used to feign injury in practice matches and be rolling around on the ground in agony and then suddenly run up to take position in the free kick. Is this true?
I don't remember really, no.
He wasn't a funny man, no, he never faked
No, I'm talking
injury.
about in your own practice matches, Noel.
No, I was too serious for that.
Yeah. He was the worst, John.
Whoever
would-
told you that, it's not true.
No. I never remember Malcolm sort of faking an injury and getting off the floor and going up for a corner.
Training was too important to me.
Yeah,
It was too
yeah.
important.
Yeah, it was serious. And if you weren't serious about your work, Malcolm didn't like you. And he took it personally. You know, I remember we had fellas like Michael Grice, and we had one or two players who wanted to play, but they didn't want to do anything more than play.
Harry Hooper.
And they'd come in here and they'd sort of listen to what was said, but they would go off home or they'd go somewhere else. We'd go back to the ground. They wouldn't accept it really. They wouldn't be Malcolm's friends.
Some players were really talented, you know. And
Yeah.
Harry Hoover was
I
unbelievable.
mean, he's brilliant talent. He had the kid.
Yeah.
Brilliant talent. I mean, he took Stanley Matthews' place in England,
Yeah.
and he had great talent. But he never played away from mine.
No.
I remember we were playing at Barnsley one day, and I picked up the ball in the first minute, and I've looked out to the right wing, and I hit this ball out to the right wing, and he's waving to this bird in the stand, the ball hit him on the back of the head. You know. It used to drive me mad. I mean, he used to-
But there's a lovely story told when he went to Wolves. He was transferred from here for £25,000, and he went to Wolves. And Collis was a hard man. He was one of the toughest managers there were at the time. And Collis sees Harry on Come Dancing on the Friday night.
Program in the
And
Victoria
there he
Ballroom
is,
at
dancing
Wolverhampton.
away, Come Dancing.
Friday night. He
So
just paid 25 grand for him. It was a fortune then, mate.
So he said to what was the chief scout's name? George Oakes or something. He said, George, I want you to follow this fella.
Yeah.
He said, because this fella, he said, like he comes in, he said, he can't be out all night and
But the
then
next
playing."
day he played, he scored 3 goals in the reserves. Well,
Yeah.
there 12,000 there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
He scored 3 goals and
Yeah.
they won 3-0.
Yeah.
And the next week, he was in the first team again. I mean,
Yeah.
Stan Cullis is watching the programme on Friday night. There's Harry, can it all this like.
But he should have been the best thing since sliced
Yeah,
bread.
yeah.
He had everything.
He had
He
talent.
used to work in that gymnasium on his own,
Yeah.
that little gym we had,
Yeah.
and he used to clatter balls against that wall and
Yeah. Great talent.
Oh.
Great talent.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But he was, I mean, I remember going into Ted's office the morning he sold him. I said, congratulations, Ted, that's the most brilliant piece of business. He couldn't believe it, Ted. I was saying, a brilliant piece of
Yeah.
business.
25 grand. Yeah.
25 grand. And he went to Wolves and he was there about 9 weeks and they sold him to Sunderland.
Yeah.
Now, Alan Brown was the manager of Sunderland, you see, and all managers or coaches are good. They think they can make all the things wrong with a player right, you know.
Yeah.
Alan Brown gave up with him.
Yeah.
Gave up with him.
Couldn't change him.
Did you have respect for Ted Fenton, or was there sort of he doesn't know?
I don't think Malcolm had much
didn't
respect
have
for him.
respect
I
for him.
did. I had because he gave me
took
the
you-
opportunity. He took me from nothing.
And he
from
took
a
you as
little
well to
Irish
use in
fella.
Colchester. Yeah.
And I got on well with him, but I didn't. I had no comparisons. You see, I'd never been with anybody else in England, so I didn't know whether he was the every manager or whether he was exceptionally good or exceptionally bad. He didn't inspire me. He didn't inspire me at all. It was Malcolm really inspired me.
I wanted to teach him, I wanted to teach him. And when I saw this fellow Alan Brown, you know. And I'm at the issue, and I'm working this guy over here, and I'm seeing this fellow over here, and the first lunchtime, Jimmy McElroy and Jimmy Adamson came in, and they both played for him, you know. And Alan Brown said, "Who's that young fellow in your squad?" He said, "Malcolm Allison, West Ham." "Why does he keep looking at me?" I don't know, they said. So they come back to me after lunch, you know, they said, our boss said, "Why do you keep looking at him?" I said, "He's the only one any good."
Do you know what, let me just tell you about him. He I don't know, maybe as we would Noel as well, but he not only taught me about football, he taught me about life as well, because he used to say some things, like sexually and all that sort of business. Because, I mean, the fair news, he did like a bird.
He did everything.
He did like a bird, and he used to have some sort of fair times. And he used to come in and go on, sorry, you lost me.
I think that Malcolm should have been employed. Like when Malcolm finished here and he left, it was a very, very sad. It shouldn't have ever happened, because there was only one guy that did it all in those days, and you know, gave us the inspiration. But he was too big for Ted, and he was too big for the club. And you know, he had no respect for directors. Malcolm, no respect whatsoever. He thought they were a waste of space.
I don't know. He did have respect for it at that particular time.
You know, he didn't respect the manager, and of course, like secretaries and things like that, he would just bully them. And we had a secretary here, and we had a game, I forget, it could have been the Spurs game, where we were getting 20 tickets for the game. And Ted got to know that there was a little bit of black market going on in football. And, you know, you wouldn't have 20 friends. He didn't have 20 friends to give the tickets to. So Ted decided, with the cooperation of Eddie Chapman, the secretary, we would only get 4 tickets each for the cup tie. Well, they came down and sort of, here's the envelope, Malcolm, 4 each. This was given to the captain. So Malcolm says, oh dear, get up, Malcolm, get up there. So Malcolm off up to Ted's office, and he said, right, if you don't give us 20 tickets each, we are not playing. There won't be a game. He said, now you can make up your mind, you and Eddie Chapman, get us 20 tickets each, otherwise we're not playing. And that was the way he. Now, a fellow would do that to you, you'd remember these little things, and you think, okay, you'll get away with it today, but you know, tomorrow's another day.
We played the England under-21s here.
Yeah.
Packed house. It was packed, you know, and we played the game. On the following Friday, I got up to get my wages. I get me wages, and I know all the rules. I know all about the union rules and the FA rules. I mean, I know what you're supposed to get here and what and I've got me wages, and it's got £2 bonus and £3 for playing. FA. Now the Football Association, I knew, paid £5. So we were playing Notts Forest on the Saturday. So I knocked on his office door. There was no one here. He'd gone, like, you know. So we come in the next day, and I said to the lads, "We're not playing today, lads. Keep your clothes on." Now he always used to be down about an hour, 3/4 an hour before the game, in the medical room, you know. And he never came down to a quarter of an hour before the kick-off. We were all sitting in that gear. Yeah. Like this.
Not even stripped.
He said, what's going on? I said, you owe us 26 quid. He said, what? I said, you owe us 26 quid. You better go and get it, otherwise we don't play. You know? So he's run up the stairs, he's come down, he's given us 13 players, he's given us 2 quid each, like, you know.
He had funny ways, didn't he? I remember being left back, I'd always, well, in certain games, I'd been near the dugout on this side. And he would never come down, dear old Ted, would never come down when we were losing. The only time he'd ever come down is when we were winning, possibly sometimes when we were drawing. And fellas like Johnny Smith and these said to me, tell him to get up there, because all he was doing is shouting and bawling.
Really.
Yeah, all he was doing was shouting and bawling at us, and he'd distract you because you'd look over and say something, you think to yourself, leave us alone, we're doing all right. But it was a strange thing, he never came down once when we were losing 2-1 or when we were losing 2-0. And I find that a strange thing that, you know, okay, maybe he didn't want to get any stick from anybody around the dugout or something like that.
Let me just tell you a quick little story, very quick, about how he taught me about life and everything. Before he came, when I first came to West Ham, my mum, and who he knew my mum and my dad very well, my mum used to go apple picking in the summer. So she'd go, and I used to go home the weekends, and I used to come back, and she'd say, "You better take Mr. Fenton some apples, dear." So I used to come back up on the train from Colchester to London with this big pack of apples, and used to walk in the ground straight up to Ted's office. She'd say, "Yeah, Mr. Fenton, my mum sent you these apples." And I'd done that quite a few times.
So he got in the
When
team.
I think back now about Imagine doing that now, and imagine players doing those sort of things. How fucking naive I was about things like that. It was incredible. But I used to do it regularly. Never used to think anything about it. No wonder I got in the side. We played Lincoln one day, you know. He may not, I've told him the story loads of times. We played Lincoln at here one day, and he was playing centre half, and he got injured. He hurt his ankle. Remember it as if it was today. We lost the game 4-2, and he got injured. And like in those days, if you got injured, you no substitute, so you put yourself where you was the least problem. So you go out wide on the right hand side on the wing, left or right, and get out of the way. Inside forward, he put himself. The most important decision in the team. He's hurt his ankle at the back, so he can't play. He's gone up at inside forward. He's constant about. I'd give him. I mean, because we used to give each other. I give him some stick. No, don't mind about that. He come off. The sad thing about all of that is that day he came off and he thought he did well up at inside forward. He's trying got up there like a big tart messing about. Incredible.
Looking back on it, I mean, you gave English football so much, didn't you, really?
I don't know. I mean, I was very happy at Manchester City when I went there. I was very happy at Plymouth, and I was very happy when I worked in sport in Lisbon. I think that nearly all the jobs I've worked at, I've really enjoyed.
No, I'm thinking in terms of the way you developed things with West Ham and brought a new aspect of the game into English football.
Well, it all came about.
It was taken on by other people like Ron Greenwood and so on, but I mean, it was you that really sowed those seeds.
Well, Ron was probably in the same squad of coaches, and as he said about Alan Brown, Ron Greenwood would have been there then, and maybe Jimmy Adamson would have been there then. So these were the new future coaches and managers of football teams. I think in actual fact, when he was younger, Malcolm, he is a far better coach possibly than he was a manager. You know, because it's a different thing altogether being a manager and being a coach. But I think that it's a bit like Dave Sexton, a bit like maybe Don Howe, very, very good coaches, but not always the right thing to manage.
It's like
particularly directors. He couldn't handle directors at all.
It's like European football, like, you know, you're the coach and you're in charge of the football, and that's it. You've got financial directors, you've got football directors, you know, you've got people who are going to buy players, and they come and approach you and they say, what position do you need, you know? They say, I want a good left-sided player, you know. So they come out and say, look, there's 3 left-sided players there. So, you know, you go and have a look and say, yeah, I like him, and they go and buy him.
Go and do it.
But you wouldn't be involved in any wages or, you know, all those things. They used to
I
bore me
suppose
to
the
death.
sad thing from his point of view really was that, because I'll always regret it, I had a chance to go to Benfica when I was at Manchester City. I met the chairman of Benfica in Lisbon, and could have gone and turned it down, and that was the worst thing. I made some mistakes in my life, but that was the worst thing I ever did, because once you've gone there, really, you only want to do half well, and you've sort of made it into Europe, really, haven't you? And you, in fairness, Mel, only got into Europe at the later stages of your career, didn't you? You didn't go at the height of your managerial coaching career.
I should have gone to Juventus.
You should have gone then, and you know, without a shadow of doubt, like Hodgson at Interest just found that out now. I mean, he's gone to Switzerland.
Well, John, what I'm trying to get at here is the fact that in the 50s, as I think Noel said at the beginning, you know, that in England we all thought we were the greatest footballers in the world, and then Hungary came to Wembley and absolutely smashed us to pieces, right? And it was really West Ham United, your style of playing, in my opinion, that really got English football onto another level, onto the sort of playing that European football was on. I mean, and it was Malcolm's really seeds that were sown that we saw the benefits from.
The thing that
am I right in that?
No, well, the thing was that Herbert Chapman had the WM formation for 25 years and been great, very, very successful. 2 championships with Huddersfield, FA Cup with Huddersfield, 3 championships with Arsenal, 2 FA Cups with Arsenal, with the WM formation, which lasted 25 years. And when Hungary came and played, and this is the reason that Ramsey changed to 4-4-2. When they came here, they played with Puskás and Idaguti deep and Košić, the header, great header. They played with Zibor and Budaj, both wide, you know, and they played with 2 wing halves, and the captain was right half, was it? And centre half and 2 fullbacks, and they absolutely destroyed us. And Zibor tore Ramsey to pieces this day. He went down the line. He made 4 goals that day, Zibor. And when they went to Hungary,
Budapest.
he made another 4 goals. You know, they won 7-1 in Hungary. And Ramsey said then he took the winger from being a winger to bring him back here in front of their winger, so they couldn't get the ball fed into him.
Yeah.
And then he defended him right. Now Ramsey was a very good footballer,
Yeah.
excellent, but lacked in pace.
Yeah.
And this fella was dynamite, Z-boy. He was dynamite. And that system tore us apart.
Yeah.
I mean, the next game, 7-1, the first game we played 1 centre half against 3 centre forwards. And neither Dickinson nor the left half wanted to come in there and pick up.
But that was maybe the start of a lot of different thinking in
Changes,
England
yeah.
as well, Mel, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
because it was. The players who played,
But
you know.
how did it influence you?
Well, I mean, a lot of the things I saw, you know, I mean, I knew training was about practice. I knew in my mind, I knew training was about practice, about doing things, working at things, you know. And I thought, well, the only way we're going to get better is we're going to work for it. And there was all sorts of people saying, oh, a baller player and all this and all that. But none of them really did it, and none of them knew how to do it.
Yeah.
There was no great coaches, maybe 2 or 3 great coaches in this country. And none of them knew how to do it. And then what went about, he brought over foreign trainers. He brought over
Herrera.
Yeah, he brought over Herrera, and he brought.
I thought he was tremendous for the game, Walter Winterbottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Did a tremendous job.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a teacher. He wasn't a football man,
No,
but he was
he
an
was a
excellent teacher. He taught people how to teach, and that was the most important factor. That I wanted to know how to teach.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to know.
But you said you just
All right.
you said that you say about Alf Ramsey, and if you remember, Alf Ramsey went manager of Ipswich
Ledbetter.
and
do you
played for
remember?
a long time. The same
True
led, and we in England didn't know. I always remember
He
when
went
I
from the
played
third
under,
division to the first.
I played under with West Ham down there, and Ron Greenwood said, "Get in and mark it." I always remember I played at Ipswich. We lost 2-1, and I scored a goal, but I only scored a goal because I robbed Ledbetter halfway inside his own half.
Yeah.
But they turns to no. He used to cause havoc because people didn't know what to do, whether to send somebody in there or just leave him, did they?
No.
But you two, Noel and John, you were the 2 fullbacks, right? And you overlapped. You did overlapping, right? Was this, Malcolm, something that just evolved because of their styles of play, or was this something that you?
He did it naturally. It was natural to him.
Yeah.
He loved to get forward. He loved to get forward, getting it. Noel, sometimes you would do it, sometimes you wouldn't. He loved to be involved in free kicks and things like that. You know, Noel was a good defensive player, very good defensive player.
But John was a better passer. He was the one who supplied the ammo. I'd sort of go up there, and that was it. We didn't overlap that much because we did play with 2 wide players overall. You know, so we didn't get forward. The gaps weren't there to get forward, and you know, you had to concentrate first of all on your defending. So you know, we didn't start breaking, but it was more from set pieces that we got forward than general play.
But your play generally was an innovation in English football.
It was, yeah.
For fullbacks.
It was, yeah. Yeah, well, it.
Yeah, they could both play. Yeah, I mean, they could both play, and they knew when 1-2 was on. You know, they knew that they could.
Oh, sad, because I don't think he'll say it. I think I hear so much of it, so I think we might as well get our own little spoke in. They was talking about Don Howe and Jimmy Armfield and all them starting all this off. The first 2 people who really got forward and made things happen in the other half of the field was you and him and I, without any shadow of doubt.
Well, that's what I'm
and
trying to say.
What we used to, but we used to be allowed to do it. You see, I mean, Ted wouldn't stop us.
No.
Yeah, because this guy was in charge.
No, I used to say to Andy Malcolm, he was a great tackler. Just stop in there. You know, Derek Parker was very quick, or Franco Farrell. Don't go to, let him go, Frank. You know.
You used to have his little sorties. You used to like your little sorties up there.
I mean, the culmination, John, really was, I mean, if we can go back to the 64 Cup final, because that was really the culmination of all this, wasn't it? The 64 Cup final, and then into Europe, and the European Cup Winners' Cup final at Wembley, when for the very first time we saw an English team outplay a continental side at passing football.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was a great day for English football.
Yeah,
not
but
just
all
for
of
West
Ron
Ham
Greenwood's
United.
teaching by that time had sort of come to fruition. I mean, like Malcolm said, maybe Morrow at the end got a bit sort of disillusioned with the whole thing. But I think, I mean, Jeff Hurst was a ordinary, very ordinary wing half. And Ron Green made him into a great striker, whatever way you look at it. He used to make runs and lead people. Unbelievable. That was simply by knowledge about what they'd learned. to this day still think that England won the World Cup in 1966 because of West Ham. I mean, you remember
Yeah, sure. The goal.
Peters getting out
Bobby's-
wide and Hurst heading simply
Bobby's
about
free
what I'm
kick.
talking
No,
about this space.
Bobby's free kick.
Hursty knew exactly what's
Yeah,
happened. Bobby
same
just
thing.
put the ball down, went into space.
Dropped it in.
Hursty, thanks very much.
Yeah.
Into the back of the net.
Wasn't by
I think that-
accident.
No, and I think all of this just came to. I always remember it. They played Munich 1860. I didn't play. I played in the cup final, but didn't play the next year. And they played, and they won 2-0. Alan Seeley got 2 goals, didn't he?
Sammy, yeah.
And I always remember Ron Greenwood coming in after us, and he said, "We played more balls today between 2 people than at any given time I've ever been at West Ham." And he said, "We played 2 people out of the game so many times today, it was unbelievable." But that needs good running off the ball for those sort of things to happen. You know, it needed people to make little blindside runs on people where you'd have 2 defenders who would think, "Yeah, I'm okay," and all of a sudden somebody would make a sneaky little run in behind somebody here, and they think, "Oh," the ball would be slipped through and bump.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always remember that. They destroyed it, Munich 1800. I mean, they really did, and they were a useful side.
I mean, it wasn't just a 2-0 result. It was the
No.
actual play. It was absolutely
Well,
superb.
and there was that like I think he got it. And the sad thing about it, they still keep harping on about it to this day, which you can't do at Manchester City. I think he got that with Franny Lee and Summerby and all of them at Man U City. But they went out on that field, and we went out in 1964 the same, and every man jack of it knew what we was doing.
Yeah.
And what we could do during the course of the game, and the sort of passes you could make and the sort of balls you could play. You see, the great thing about Ron Greenwood taught me about playing wide and playing into this space. It was a doddle. I could have played it, back-heeled him into the space at times. It was a doddle. But he never, ever, ever said, and this was how you looked at the game and how you found out about it. He never said I couldn't sit a ball far post. You know, all of a sudden you'd go, they'd get so used to these things getting dropped in here, and all of a sudden you'd go, "Oh, unlucky pal, far post." And you'd do them like kippers.
We played a team called Schalke, German cup winners. And they were a good side, and the coach was a top coach in Germany. And we played them, and I played Mike Summerby and Francis Lee right on the edge of the 18-yard box, that wide. And Colin Bell making runs from here. Neil Young deep in there, and Mike Summerby deep in there. And we beat them 5-0. And the coach said, "I've never seen anything like it in my life." Because he like the sweeper was playing against Colin Bell. And Colin Bell was one of the greatest players in Europe, you know. He was coming there and they didn't know what to do. They didn't know, the 2 fullbacks were here, half here and half there. It's the same one. And the 2 central defenders were here. Why would them? And when you set problems, you say, you've got to set problems for people. It's no good just going and playing and just playing.
You've got to set problems with people having a bit of knowledge of what they're doing as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know, they've got. You see that West Ham went and played Saragossa, and they had Samantha or something like that. Tell me his name. A big centre half, and they played the first game here, and he based everything, Ron Greenwood, on the return game. Everything on the centre half not coming forward. He went and played in that game. His team talk. I was in it. I didn't play, but I was in his team talk. He played John Sissons and either Peter Braber or Alan Seeley, I forget which it was, as our target man. Didn't play with the centre forward at all. Nobody in there at all. Them was our outlets were there and there. And we'd play, and he based everything on the centre half not coming forward with the ball. He placed everything on the centre half, just getting a lot of the ball and just keep volleying long balls. And until the last 10 minutes of the game, and he said after the match, we never put under pressure at any time during that game until the last 10 minutes, when all of a sudden the big centre half start making 2-1 and 3-2 situations on us by bringing the ball forward. But that's what real intelligent thinking is about the game.
Wasn't he, John?
Yeah.
On the game, he was very knowledgeable, Ron, I think. Accepted as one of the best coaches, I would think.
So it's just the man management side where he
I think that's
fell down.
probably, possibly.
But to wrap it up then, I mean, can I ask you individually, starting with Malcolm, what you think is the greatest contribution West Ham United have made to English football?
Greatest contribution? I think that their football from 57 to 65, 66 probably, 66, was excellent, and everybody admired their football. and they got results and they won competitions, they won things. See, the thing that upset me about West Ham is they didn't win enough. They didn't win enough things, you know. And they were technically a very good side, but physically they weren't a very good side. And it's two things that make great teams.
But you must be very proud of your contribution.
Yeah, I mean, it was a part of my life where I came from a club where I was a kid. I'd just come out of the army, and you know, I had my own ideas. I was very lucky. I trained with a team called Wacker in Vienna, you know, and they had Ockwork, Stoffel, Sheffield, the two Hanneby brothers. They had about 5 of the Austrian team, which was a great team. I mean, I saw Austria beat Italy 5-1 in the Prater Stadium, and they were training. I trained with them, and I worked with them, you know, and I saw what they did. And when I came back here, I couldn't believe what they were doing at Cheltenham. They used to run around. I'd run around in the trainers to go 4 laps, 6 laps, 2 laps, up the steps, down the steps, like, you know, army exercises, and that was it. That was it. And then maybe play 11 aside. And I used to pinch balls and hide them to come back in the afternoon and practice kicking against the stand and practice with Eddie Desmani and Stuart Leary. But it was unbelievable, English training. Incredible. No wonder we got slaughtered by Hungary.
I think that since the 50s, I would think that most people who watch West Ham play enjoy the way they play, and I think this has been a great thing. And of course, their contribution to England in the World Cup is there in the histories. So they've always bred a good type of player, a good type of passer, a good thing. The thing that, as Malcolm might have just said there wasn't just enough steel in it all the time, but there's certainly the technique and the knowledge. There wouldn't be many teams in the country. They may have had better players here and there, like Man United particularly, but I found it very difficult when I went to Man United, having been here, because having been around knowledgeable players at Man United, they were individually very good, but the whole method wasn't anything like we had here, and I found it difficult. You had to survive on your own at Man United, whereas here you could become part of a team, and you didn't have to have exception. Like John didn't have exceptional ability. I didn't have exceptional ability. It was just the knowledge that we learned. Yeah.
You used to think you did anyway.
Yeah, I think.
Noel, did you enjoy your time at Upton Park more than at Old Trafford?
Well, I don't know. I've often thought of that, and I've often been asked that. But I think there were two great clubs to play for. But I think overall, I enjoyed playing at West Ham more than I enjoyed playing at Old Trafford, although I've been fortunate enough to win a medal there and be captain of a cup, which is always a great honour. But I think actually playing the game, I enjoyed West Ham more than I enjoyed Man United. Man United is a wonderful place to play, Old Trafford, as you can well imagine. It wasn't always great down here when we had the chicken run, when we had a little, you know, the pitch wasn't always in great condition. Whereas at Old Trafford it was a bigger club. So I did enjoy both, but I most certainly, I think that I probably, if I hadn't come to West Ham and learned from Malcolm very early in my career, I don't think I would have made a player.